Hey guys, Easy Tech Review here with a quick comparison of the Blackberry Torch 9800 and the newly released Blackberry Torch 9810. Now on the left here is the Blackberry Torch 9800, which is the older model released around October, November of last year, 2010. And then here is the just released Blackberry Torch 9810. This is the 9800, 9810. Last year, BlackBerry had a much media fanfare that they arranged to introduce the Torch 9800, and it's overall a pretty successful device. And this year they released just last week a trio of new devices, among them being the new 9810, which is the direct successor to the 9800. Now, as you can see, both of them are looking quite identical. Pretty much look exactly the same, actually, except for the color. Just to touch upon the other two devices in their new lineup is the Bulb 9900 series, which is a traditional BlackBerry form factor, the full QWERTY keyboard permanently there and the smaller screen. And then they have the new Torch 9800, 9850, I believe. That is a full touchscreen device, kind of like the old Storms. And this device is kind of like the in-between, which is the portrait slider, which I've always liked as a form factor. Anyways, if you look at them both, they're pretty much identical externally. This older unit, 9800, is available in this default black color and also red and white, and this newer one, 9810, is available in this aluminum silver color and white. Now just a quick look around. The right side ports again are the same. You got your 3.5 millimeter stereo headphone jack. You got the volume up down keys. The one convenience key, I still am sad that they took away the left side convenience key in the older Blackberries. So on the left side, all you have is your micro USB charging port. On the back, you have the 5 megapixel camera on both units. They didn't really change the megapixels, and the flash for the camera. Now there is one critical change to the camera in the new 9810, which I'll touch upon soon. Also, you'll notice the back cover. One minor difference besides the color, obviously, is the new Torch 9810 has this kind of checkerboard pattern on the back, which a lot of people say looks chintzy and cheaper, versus the matte black finish on the older one that has these horizontal lines. But that's honestly kind of nitpicking. But if you want, you can just swap the covers if you like. They're fully compatible. So what's the difference then in this new model, the 9810? It's mostly all internal changes in terms of the hardware inside. So on the 9800, we had a 624 megahertz, 624 megahertz CPU processor, 512 megs of RAM, and running BlackBerry OS 6. On this new unit, the 9810, we have almost a double of the CPU speed, jump up to 1.2 gigahertz on the new unit, and it's still a single core, but it's pretty much jumped up double for the clock speed. Also, this has a dedicated Adreno 205 dedicated video processing unit, which allows for what RIM calls the liquid video feature on this, which actually supports some 3D games if developers start developing for it. And also it also helps the UI and scrolling achieve a much more fluid result versus the old one. Still pretty fluid, but it's noticeably more fluid on the newer unit. Now the 1.2 gigahertz is a Qualcomm Snapdragon type processor, and overall with these two improvements and the bump up in RAM from 512 to 768 megabytes on this new unit, it's allows for a much more smoother experience. Multitasking, you can download like 4 apps at a time now without bogging the machine down. You can still, be typing an email while you're downloading some programs from App World, for example. And the camera, even though they're both 5 megapixels, the one critical change in the new unit is video recording. The old model only supported, I believe, VGA recording for video. This one finally does HD video recording, 720p. So that's a great improvement. And just to illustrate you the difference in processing power between the two units, why don't we go ahead and pull the battery on both units and do the standard boot up process. As you all are, if you're Blackberry users, know the boot up process for Blackberries is quite long. Alright, so both batteries are out. And then also note this comes with 8 gigs of onboard memory versus the old 9800 had 4 gigs built in, and they bundle a 4 gig micro SD card, at least AT&T does. And since the new one has the full 8 gigs on board, they don't really give you a add-in micro SD card. They cheapen out, thinking 8 gigs is good enough for most people. Alright, so let's do the power up. Okay, both units are battery going in at the same time. Now actually the 9800, the older unit, kick-started the boot up process faster. As you saw, the screen came up first, but the 9810 is catching up even though it started later. It's not exactly a direct apples to apples comparison because this is running OS 6 and OS 7 is running on the newer unit, but just as a quick direct comparison, you can tell the boot up speed is a little faster on the newer one. Okay, so it's already at the carrier splash screen on the newer 9810, and there you have it. It's ready to go. Versus the old 9800 with the 624 megahertz processor is still just now getting to the carrier logo screen. Alright. Now let's show you a quick comparison of the browser speed. The browser is even more improved now in OS 7 and this new device. One of the main features of OS 6 when they released it, BlackBerry OS 6 and the Torch, was they were touting how the browser speed is much better than the previous gen OS 5 units. Now the OS 7 units further improves upon that. So let's open the browser and we'll load the same page on both units. They're both connected to the same Wi-Fi network, and I'm going to load up one of my favorite blogs, technology blogs. Okay, starting at the same time. Okay, so the one on the right, the newer one, is already loaded up, and the left one's still just finishing up. And you can tell the old unit isn't quite responsive when you're scrolling, trying to scroll while it's still loading, versus the one on the right is way smoother. But let's wait for the old one to finish loading up, which it's still doing. The new browser is also supposedly fully HTML5 compatible, and as soon as one finishes loading, it's having trouble loading. Alright, there you go. You can see the pinch zoom is a lot more jerky on the old device versus the new one is way more smoother, with the Blackberry liquid graphics feature in OS 7, which is also hardware accelerated by the Adreno 205 processor. Just simple scrolling, you notice a big difference. And another thing to note is the touchscreen sensitivity. The new 9810 is a lot more sensitive. I would say not a lot more, but definitely noticeably more sensitive. So that's definitely an improvement in terms of overall UI smoothness. This phone is very fast, just daily usage, changing through the UIs and whatnot. Also another difference some people said was the keyboard. Now, if you look at it, it looks exactly the same, but some are saying that the 9810 has a slightly wider keyboard, maybe by a millimeter or two, which improves its typing experience. I do find that typing on the new one is it just feels a little nicer. In terms of weight, they're both weigh about the same. In fact, here, digital scale. Okay, the 9800 weighs 5.6 ounces. The old 9800, I mean, sorry. And the new 9810 weighs 5.6 ounces. So they weigh pretty much exactly the same. Overall it's an evolution of the 9800. The internals are improved quite a bit. And OS 7, you can see right here, they changed the design scheme of the menu icons a little bit, whereas the OS 6 by default is all wireframe, black background with the white wireframe. The OS 7, they went back to kind of multicolor icons. You can look at the email icons, you can look at the setup icons. It's just overall a little more colorful. To be honest, OS 7 doesn't feel too much difference. It's just more like a polish of OS 6. Some would say it's more like a OS 6.5 or 6.1 versus a full number revision, but RIM decided to just increment the number by 1. Now this is probably the last devices in this line of BlackBerry OS units. Next year, RIM is looking to move to the QNX platform, which is supposedly radically different. But for those of you out there who have 9800, you can decide if these differences warrant an upgrade for you to the 9810. But overall, it's still a great device for getting things done. Alright, thanks for watching.